What would you do if the people you trusted most, your own brothers, turned against you, threw you into a dark well, and walked away as if you never existed? What if you were sold like a slave, falsely accused, imprisoned for years? Would you lose hope? Or would you rise, stronger than ever? This is not fiction. This is the real, gripping, and divine story of a boy named Yusuf, whose journey from the bottom of a well to the throne of Egypt would shake empires, soften hearts, and prove that no betrayal is too deep for God's plan to prevail. The dream that changed everything. I saw 11 stars, and the sun and the moon, bowing down to me. That was the moment the world around Yusuf shifted. He was just a young boy, innocent, curious, and full of light. But even as a child, there was something different about him. His eyes gleamed with wisdom beyond his years. His words were measured, his thoughts deep. And on this particular night, a dream came to him, one unlike any other. The stars danced in harmony. The sun bathed him in warmth. The moon bent toward him like a servant to a king. He woke up with his heart racing. His father, Jacob, a prophet himself, sat quietly under the olive tree outside their home. Yusuf rushed toward him. "Father, I had a dream," Yusuf said, eyes wide with wonder. "I saw 11 stars, and the sun and the moon, I saw them bowing to me." Jacob's expression changed. He didn't smile. He didn't speak at first. Instead, his eyes welled up with tears, not of joy, but of understanding. He knew. This wasn't an ordinary dream. It was revelation. "My son," Jacob said gently, "do not share this dream with your brothers." Yusuf looked confused. "Why not?" "Because envy is a fire, my child, and even your own blood may feed it." Yusuf was the light of his father's life, and everyone could see it. He was the son of Jacob's old age, born to his beloved wife Rahel. His speech was pure, his face radiant. The way their father looked at Yusuf, like he was the moon itself, burned a hole in the hearts of his older brothers. Jealousy. Quiet. Bitter. Deadly. "Why does father love him more than us?" One brother whispered. "We work. We fight. We sacrifice. And yet it's always Yusuf," said another. And then someone said what none of them dared to speak. "What if he was gone?" Silence. And then nods. "Let's kill him." But one of them, Reuben, felt a flicker of mercy. "No, don't spill blood. Let's just throw him into a well. Let the desert decide his fate." A different kind of death. One without blood. One they could lie about. They agreed. And the trap was set. "Yusuf," they called the next day. "Come with us. Let's go to the fields. We'll play, we'll explore, like brothers." Yusuf smiled, his heart pure, unaware of the wolves in sheep's clothing. The sun was high, the land dry. The brothers laughed. Yusuf joined, until they reached the edge of a lonely, forgotten well. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. Hands grabbed him. Rough. Cold. "What are you doing?" Yusuf cried. "You think you're better than us?" He screamed. He begged. He cried. But they pushed. And then, silence. Yusuf was falling. Down. Down. Into darkness. The walls closed in. The air turned cold. He hit the water hard. His body shivered. The only light, faint stars above, like distant memories. He was alone. Above, the brothers stood, catching their breath. "Let's stain his shirt with blood from a goat. Tell father a wolf got him." And they left. Back home, Jacob fell to his knees as they lied to him. He held the blood-stained shirt in trembling hands. "You lie," he whispered. "You think I don't know? My heart tells me he lives." But Yusuf was gone. A slave in a foreign land, coming next. A caravan passed days later. Thirsty, dusty, tired. "Let's check the well," one merchant said. A bucket was lowered, and as they pulled it up, "What is this?" One gasped. "A boy." Yusuf's eyes were hollow, but he was alive. "We'll sell him Egypt. A servant. A slave. Who would know?" And so began a new chapter. Egypt. The land of pharaohs. of gold, of grandeur. A city bustling with trade, luxury, and secrets. And in its crowded marketplace stood a boy on display. Yusuf was no ordinary slave. Even covered in dust, his beauty stunned the crowd. His presence noble, his silence loud. Eyes followed him. Whispers floated through the air. Who is he? Where did this one come from? A prince disguised as a slave. The bidding began. But one man stood out. Al-Aziz, a high-ranking official in Pharaoh's court. A man of power and poise. He watched Yusuf quietly calculating. "Bring him to me," he said. "I'll take him to my palace. This boy is special." And just like that, Yusuf's chains were replaced with royal robes. Not as a prince, no. Not yet. But as a servant in one of the most powerful homes in Egypt, classical building, the eyes of the palace. Al-Aziz's wife, Zuleika, was known throughout the land, not just for her beauty, but for her charm, her wit, and her hunger for power. She watched Yusuf as he worked, day after day. His character flawless. His patience divine. He never raised his voice. He never looked where he shouldn't. And that only made her desire grow. Until one day, desire turned into obsession. "Yusuf," she called, her voice like silk. "Come here." He turned, cautious. "You're no servant," she said, stepping closer. "You were made for more. You could have everything. Just say the word." He froze. Eyes down. Heart racing. "No," he said firmly. "I fear Allah." And just like that, temptation turned to rage. The palace echoed with footsteps, his desperate escape from sin. But then the door opened. There stood her husband. She changed instantly, tears in her eyes, trembling lips. "He tried to force himself on me," she screamed. Yusuf stood speechless. He could have shouted, defended, fought, but he didn't. Prison, the court ruled. Let him rot there. And so the innocent went to jail, while the guilty walked free. Candle behind bars, still a beacon. Even in prison, Yusuf's light never dimmed. The other prisoners gathered around him, drawn to his peace, his wisdom. Two men, servants of the king, had strange dreams. One saw birds eating bread from his head. The other saw grapes pressed into wine. They turned to Yusuf. "Tell us, what do they mean?" He looked up. "Only Allah gives knowledge of dreams. But I will tell you, one of them," he said, "would be freed. The other would be executed." Days later, both came true. As the freed man left prison, Yusuf said quietly, "When you return to the king, mention me. Tell him I'm innocent." The man nodded, then walked into freedom. And forgot. Yusuf stayed. Days turned to weeks. Weeks to years. But he waited, with the patience of prophets. Until one night, the palace trembled. It woke him with sweat on his brow and fear in his heart. 7 fat cows devoured by 7 lean ones, 7 green ears of corn, and 7 dry ones. What does it mean? None of his priests or sorcerers could answer. But the servant, the one who once shared a cell with Yusuf, suddenly remembered. "I know a man," he whispered. Yusuf stood before Pharaoh. Years older now, taller, wiser, stronger. The dream was told. And Yusuf, by Allah's mercy, gave the meaning. 7 years of abundance will come, followed by 7 years of famine. Save during the good years. Prepare. And you will survive. Pharaoh stared at him in awe. "Who is this man?" he whispered. "No one speaks like this." He turned to his court. "Make him our minister. Let him handle Egypt's grain. Give him the keys to our survival." Just like that, the boy once thrown into a well was now the guardian of Egypt's wealth. But his story was far from over. Back in Canaan, the famine had reached Yusuf's family. His brothers, now older, worn by guilt and drought, were sent to Egypt to buy food. They stood before him. They didn't recognize him. But he knew exactly who they were. The same faces that laughed as he fell into the well. The same hands that stained his shirt with goat's blood. But Yusuf said nothing. "Take your food," he told them. "But bring your youngest brother next time." That brother was Benjamin, Yusuf's full-blooded sibling, the only one he truly trusted. When they returned with him, Yusuf plotted a test. He placed the king's cup in Binyamin's bag, then accused him of theft. The guards searched, found the cup. "He must stay as a servant," Yusuf said coldly. The brothers begged, "Please, our father will die if we don't bring him back." Their tone was different now. Softer. Remorseful. And then Yusuf couldn't take it anymore. He stepped forward. Tears welled in his eyes. "Do you not recognize me?" he whispered. "I am Yusuf." Silence. "Yusuf," they echoed, faces pale. He nodded. "You meant to harm me, but Allah turned it into good." They fell to their knees. "Forgive us," they cried. And he did. Without hesitation, Yusuf sent for his father and the rest of his family. Yaqub, now old and blind from weeping over Yusuf for years, finally reached Egypt. And as he stepped into Yusuf's court, his son embraced him. "Father," he whispered, "it's me." And Yaqub's eyes lit up once more. The prophecy, the dream from so long ago, came true that day. His 11 brothers, his father, his mother, all bowed to him in respect. Not in worship, but in awe of what Allah had made of him. This is not just the story of a boy who suffered and rose again. It is the story of betrayal, of patience, of forgiveness. The story of how a well couldn't hold him, of how a prison couldn't break him, and how power never corrupted him. This is the legacy of Yusuf, peace be upon him. Legacy and lessons. Why the world still talks about Yusuf. What makes a man unforgettable? Is it power? Beauty? Or the ability to forgive what no one else would? Yusuf's story didn't end on a throne. No. It lived on as a divine blueprint for those who would face betrayal, loneliness, false accusation, injustice, and the hardest of all, forgiveness. Lesson to learn from the story includes Scroll Lesson 1. From the well to the throne, patience is the path. Yusuf's life didn't rise in a straight line. He was loved, then betrayed, then sold, then honored, then falsely accused, then jailed, then forgotten. But he never said, "Why me?" Instead, he whispered, "I trust you, my Lord." In the darkest cell, Yusuf believed he still had purpose. If you are patient in your prison, your Lord will walk you to the palace. Scroll Lesson 2. Not every promotion comes from people, some come through pain. If his brothers hadn't thrown him into the well, he would have never been in Egypt. If Zuleika hadn't lied, he wouldn't have been in prison. If the prisoner hadn't forgotten him, Pharaoh wouldn't have needed him when the dream came. Every single setback was a setup for something greater. Scroll Lesson 3. When you have the power to destroy, choose to forgive. When Yusuf stood before the same brothers who betrayed him, he didn't say, "Now you suffer." He said, "There is no blame on you today." Quran 12 hours 92 minutes. Imagine that. You can jail them, shame them, break them, and instead, you forgive them. That's not weakness. That's the strength of prophets. Scroll Lesson 4. Don't let trauma make you bitter. Let it make you deeper. Yusuf could have become cold. He could have trusted no one. But he stayed kind. He stayed just. He stayed pure. Even when no one was watching, he said, "I fear Allah." That's why the entire palace respected him, even the Pharaoh. Scroll Lesson 5. Dreams take time, but they always arrive. He dreamt of stars and the sun and the moon bowing. It didn't come true the next day. Or next year. It came true decades later. But it came. Just because something hasn't arrived yet doesn't mean it isn't on the way. So next time your life falls apart, remember Yusuf in the well. Next time people turn their backs on you, remember Yusuf in the prison. And when the world finally sees your worth, don't gloat, don't boast. Remember Yusuf on the throne, forgiving the very people who broke him. This is not just a story. This is a roadmap. This is the legacy of a man who turned pain into power and betrayal into beauty.